the mandate given by the First Presidency and the presiding bishopric is to only focus on financial growth. EPA employees are told that the money will be used after the second coming of Jesus Christ or during Armageddon right before he would come again. That means that Ensign Peak Advisors grows by $7 billion each year from capital gains, dividends, interest, etc., plus another $1 to $2 billion each year from excess tithing. All church operations consume between $5 and $6 billion per year of tithing. It is officially, finally true that the Mormon Church could tell every member in the world to completely stop paying tithing now and forever, and it could continue to fund every current program in full without drawing down on the reserves. In other words, Ensign Peak Advisors would continue to grow.
Travis Wingutzel. Church news time. Sneezing up a storm all day today. So, notice how the news is no longer the news. They report polling data. You do understand that the polling data are by companies that are trying to control the minds of the public, and thus ask certain questions in a certain way, expecting to get certain responses. Plus, it throws in fallacy arguments on top of the psychological manipulation of small sampling. America has over 300 million Americans. Over 300 million. And so do they contact each and every single one of us to get an accurate polling? Nope. At the very most, it's 1,000, 2,000. And from 1 to 2,000, we'll even bump it up to 3,000 to make it easier on the math. 30 million is 10%. 3 million is 1%. 300,000 is 0.1%. 30,000, 0.01%. 3,000, 0.001%. And these polling data are being used by the press to convince us of the ad populum fallacy that the majority of Americans are thinking this way. Wow, I guess if the majority of the Americans think that Biden's speech sucked or was awesome, then maybe I should believe that too. Heaven forbid I actually watch the debate and choose for myself, and not let polling data decide for me. And curse you, news, for spreading this abomination and calling it news. Because Both liberal and conservative press do it when it favors their position. And so, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints pulls this similar kind of stunt. They kind of have to. They're missing 14 million Mormons. In case you didn't know, the church is no longer popular. You can't use an ad populum argument to defend the church. And so, the greatest place for the need for retention and reactivation is south of the border. I went to Tijuana when I was a priest, our priest quorum, with the priest quorum advisor, because he can't be the priest quorum president because of the way the church sets it up in the scriptures. The bishop is the president, and you have presidents of the other two quorums, but for the priests, the bishop is the president, and then in order to lift the load from his great burden, not having the keys to be bishop in any way, if you're not going to follow my channel, they have an adult who does a makeshift job being the priest quorum advisor to babysit the priests, as there are adults for the teachers and the deacons as well to babysit them, despite there being a president in the teachers and deacons quorum. And so it's all about babysitting members of the church. And the babysitting program has failed south of the border, because Mormon leaked the sacrament meeting attendance south of the border, specifically Central America. Pretty much nil. You need to understand, when I went to Tijuana, the people were not dressed nice. They did not wear new clothes like I got every new semester for school. They wore old, worn out, dirty clothes because they're poor. And so when these missionaries come around in their nice suits from Mr. Mac, I always thought it was weird. I get asked, did you get your suits from Mr. Mac? What? I'm from Southern California, dude. I'm not from Utah. So I didn't know Mr. Mac until I moved to Utah, and then went, oh, Mr. Mac, got it. That's why he's advertising to the missionaries. And so, yeah, he's able to profit off of missionary pyramid scam that the church operates. And so there's a quid pro quo going around. But, and so the people are desperate. The missionaries tell them that if you join the church, pay 10% of your one chicken that you have left to live off of, that you'll be prospered by Jesus. And so they join the church, abandon their Catholic faith, because the Catholics weren't helping them, and then find out that the church tricked them. They're now having to give up not only the one chicken, but an arm and a leg of their chosen child. No, mommy, not me. We have to be faithful to Jesus, dear. No! You won't need it being pregnant. It's just awful. Why don't people protest? Dear God, there should be a mass protest worldwide at all of the churches, temples, and stake centers, and downtown at the Temple Square. Specifically at the administration building, not the church office building. So that the prophets have it made very clear to them that Mormons have had enough. They need to stand down and dissolve the church and give back all of the trillions of dollars they're hoarding. Thus, Reagan's economics, trickle-down economics, it trickles down to the top. It never goes below. And this is the problem of the church. They all claim to be doing humanitarian aid and giving charity, and when you see behind the scenes, you see that it's all a business scam, that the church is profiting off of it. Every single one of them. And so, for example, back in June, I guess they had to replace another one that I exposed at the top. They put church builds and donates road to Côte d'Ivoire community. I botched that, didn't I? And you think, wow, the church built a whole road and donated it to the community? That's awesome. And then you look at the picture and you see, oh, it looks like it could be a temple. Sure enough, when you go to the article, way back in June, it is not new. The road that the church built and donated is only to the temple. Nobody's going to use it unless they go to the temple. And I don't even know if they have cars. You only see one car in the middle of the street. That's most likely the photographers who went out there, rented the vehicle to do the photo shoot. People are poor in the world. Life-threateningly poor. And this church is sitting on trillions of total asset value. Trillions. And they're trying to keep it as much a secret as they can. You know, the whistleblower from Ensign Peak Advisors, okay, fine. We'll let people believe we only have a total asset value of $200 billion. No. What he exposed was that Ensign Peak Advisors only takes 10% of the total tithing revenue. So $200 billion is $2 trillion for tithing alone. And we were told, because Nelson sent us the first presidency statement in retaliation, we do this with every single source of income we receive. What? The whole thing is a scam, which means 1,800 billion is left in the Zion's bank account. But they don't want to leave it all in the Zion's bank account. So what did they do? Well, Australia told us they have offshore bank accounts to launder the extra money. And remember, they follow Reagan's economic policy. Don't trickle anything down. Only spend what you need to spend and put the rest in an offshore bank account, where that's even earning interest on top of the $200 billion that's earning enough interest so that the church doesn't even need to require further tithing from its members for the rest of eternity. And yet, the church is still desperately trying to get as much money as they can hoard. And so, yeah, the only people who are going to use this road are the people who join the church and go to the temple. In order to go to the temple, you have to be a full tithe payer. Number 10. Oh, that's clever. 10% tithing. Number 10 in the worthiness interview. It's an extortion racket. Section 119 is a crime. So is Section 132. Joseph was not a part of this. They both violate the Book of Mormon. Are you seriously claiming that the Danites were right in 1838 that Joseph Smith violated the Book of Mormon and became an evil monster? Seriously? You're going to believe the lies of this church rather than do the background information and fact check these losers who are deceiving all of us. They have no authority, and they're covering it up with Jesus demanding that we pay up. And so, yeah, people in impoverished nations leave the church. And it most likely is because they can't afford to get to church. And so, the top story, the Relief Society president is still doing her Mocking the Poor tour, specifically women and children. Thousands of women and children in Central America participate in nutrition effort. Do you know how much more expensive the actual fruits and vegetables, grains, breads, cereals, the milks and the meats are compared to junk food, ultra processed? I'm seeing commercials complaining about, they're showing a dog, and they've trained the dog to look sad. You hear a voice saying, "Would you treat humans with processed food?" Well, yeah, we all do it. Everything in our grocery store is processed. It has been for generations, ever since we learned how to use preservatives. It prolongs the use of our food. If we use the fresh from the ground, they'll be spoiled by the time we buy them. I refer you to the Simpsons episode where Marge puts the green food, whatever it's called, onto the conveyor at the shopping center, and then it gets scanned and instantly turns into mold. All to placate Lisa and her liberal green ways. There's a reason why we're advanced in this nation. It's because science is helping to prolong our life by prolonging our food supply. God, we got these anti-humans that are trying to convince us that we need to kill ourselves to decrease the surplus population. Dear God. And so you'd think that you'd see thousands of women in the main picture. 2. 2 women showed up to the activity where the Relief Society president went to do a photo op. 2. The others, the one is the counselor to the Relief Society president, and then the 2 other guys, I'm sure the one in white in the back is the physical facilities representative. He could be the bishop or the stake president to let him in the building in the first place. And then the other guy would be the guy that tours. I've seen his face many times. And so he's for the church somehow. But no, only 2 women out of thousands. That is better than the polling data. Not by much. Should we do that? 20,000 is 10%. And yeah, 2,000 is 1%. 200.1%. 20. Nope, it's the exact same percentage. 0.001%. It's just, oh my God. How many more videos, how many more years will I be allowed by YouTube, now that they're allowing me again to view YouTube channels signed in, before Mormons wake up and realize the church ain't true? 14 million Mormons have already learned. Why haven't you? Why are you still in this church? It's probably because you haven't been put to the real test, where you automatically fail. This is the Zoramite principle of the Book of Mormon in action. They were kicked out because of their poverty. And notice, the clothing they're wearing, brand new. Now there's been the scandal that the church, when they're doing a photo op in third world countries, would provide them with wardrobe for the photo shoot and then take it back afterwards. Which could be why the guy is there. That could be his job. Dear God. And so, yeah, all you see is some barf. Dear God, why would any baby eat that, let alone adults? I can't read the bag. It's from their country. And so they got people down there to give it to the church to do the photo op. But you don't see them with nutrition. You don't see fruits and vegetables. Nowhere. It's just those bags of barf. And that's supposedly nutrition. But the photo shoot are of kids who are getting measured as to how big they're getting. And then to show that other people are involved, they took a photo shoot at church, which has nothing to do with this project, to try to claim there were more women involved. Oh my God. It's just so sad. A guy commented the other day on my video, and where I talked about how the church did a church news thing about how they're sending in missionaries or Mormons to go and preach to the prisoners. And I don't think the majority of Mormons understand this is not a good thing either, because the commissary that the Mormons in prison get, 10% has to be given to the church. Plus, when they go before the parole board and say, "I found Mormon Jesus, let me go," the family goes, "Oh, Mormon Jesus, oh wow, maybe I should ask the missionaries how he's changed his life from murdering little girls in Utah." And so the missionaries come over and they join the church and have to pay. It's all a scam. Everything. The church is one big clickbait. As the guy in the previous video tried to claim my videos were clickbait. Come on, dude. You don't know what clickbait is. The church is a perfect example of clickbait. Maybe that should be the title. 0.001%. Dear God. Clickbait. But yeah, you want to learn about the church? Hey, we'll send you missionaries. You want a free Book of Mormon? We have to send the missionaries to give it to you. Want to come and attend church? Just once. Then we'll send the missionaries on you. Yeah, and I remember back as a missionary having to ask members, do you have friends or family or neighbors that you know of who might want to hear the gospel? No, don't just put it all on us missionaries. You're to blame too. Remember, every Mormon a missionary. Clickbait. Everything is designed to increase the wealth of the church. Everything. Even conference, even charity, especially charity. Dear God, the church doesn't spend a penny. It's all from donations and minimized so that the bulk of it goes into offshore bank accounts, with 10% going into an LLC corporation to earn interest and increase their wealth. And they claim the parable of the talents, and they've completely botched that interpretation. It has to do with getting people to Zion, and Mormons don't want to go because you missed it. The first, second resurrections you missed because you didn't understand resurrection correctly. I did that video. Insurrection leads to resurrection. Look it up. I have a home page with a video page. So, 26 minutes? I'm wondering if I should do Coltrane or not. Not to diminish the great legend of jazz, John Coltrane, but his name is Colton Crane, and so associative memory, Coltrane. Let's see if we... he's got a number of comments. He's got 6, and they're well in depth. So maybe I should, 5. I should wait, do it another time. Keep putting it off.